Yo, what's good? Good evening. Good evening. What's good, everybody? Whew. It's a warm day. Give y'all a minute to get in here if y'all do decide to come, but I'm not going to wait too long because it is what it is. Anyway, how y'all doing? Good evening. Good night. Wherever you're at in the world. This your boy Tyrus Bane, aka Snapzilla Gorilla, aka The Definition. What is good with y'all? Welcome to Freedom's March. It is Friday. I wish. It is Thursday, April 18th, 2023. 2024. My bad, y'all. I got my dates all fucked up. Yeah, it's 2024. April and all that good shit. Right now, I'm on my way back to South Carolina from Georgia. I got a long weekend at the house, which is always good. You know, get to do things with my family. I think this weekend we're going to build a little fire pit in the backyard, you know, and all that other shit. Build a little, thinking about building a little cover or like a little awning, you know, so we can be back there hanging out outside in our big backyard. Anyway, how y'all doing, man? A lot going on in the world today. A lot of bullshit going on in the world. Oh my God, really? Why are we slamming our brakes? Why are we slamming? This, Jesus, man. I don't, motherfuckers, man. Why are we slaying? Why is this slow ass truck in this? Anyway, let me stop. Very exciting weekend of boxing, especially. We got the Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia fight on Saturday. Slamming the brakes. Just let's just slam some fucking brakes all day. Dead Mike was good. You know, ain't nothing much going on over here but a bunch of brake slamming in this motherfucker. It's a good thing I have 2 car links between me and the car in front of me. It's just completely ridiculous. Anyway. Am I ready to see Devin Haney get slept? No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I urge you to go look at the last fight Devin Haney had against Ryan Garcia. And imagine, and that was about, I don't know exactly, like 10 years ago. Not really sure, but it's their last amateur fight together. And Devin Haney, with his ass zooked Ryan Garcia's ass. And imagine that since then, Devin Haney has improved tenfold, and Ryan Garcia improved onefold since that time. All right, just I urge you to go look at that. Anyway, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. What I think is going to happen is either Devin wins on the scorecards or stops Ryan Garcia late in the late rounds, maybe 8th or 9th round. Or he might surprise everybody and end it early. Maybe round 3 or round 4. Maybe a smooth, clean knockout. Trump in the good old days and good old days. Okay. You need to keep my friend Mighty Mouse name out your mouth, boy. I seen a video where Mouse beat. First of all, that was a sparring match, right? It was a sparring match, and I was working on something in particular during that. You know, it was a sparring match. I wasn't even going 10 or 20%, but it is what it is. You want to believe that he beat my ass in a sparring match? Fine by me. Even though if you go watch it, you'll see that he maybe hit me 3 times, for the whole 4 minutes, 6 minutes. Anyway, fuck Mighty Mouse and fuck you. How about that? Fuck that kitty diddler and fuck anybody that supports him. How about that? Anyway, this channel that I have here is typically used for world events, things that anti-tyranny. This is basically an anti-tyranny channel, and it still is. It still is. It's just that I'm into boxing as well. Sometimes I like to get shit off my chest in regards to that. And it's all I can tell you about what's going on in the world is that we are probably headed for World War III because they want to drag us into another war. Now they're saying that Iran is trying to complete a nuclear weapon. You know what I'm saying? Here we go with the whole weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction narrative that got us into invading Iraq. They got us into the Iraq war. I mean, it's just bullshit, bro. Like, are we really supposed to believe these motherfuckers after they lied to us so many times and dragged us into all these wars for bullshit? I don't believe it. It is what it is. But that's where we're at in this world today, man. We're at in this world. That we have these platforms like platforms where people can speak their mind about shit, and you can get all types of information from all different types of places. But I want to dive into this boxing thing because this isn't really necessarily about the Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia fight, right? What it's about is people who cover boxing that I don't know what bullshit. I don't know what they're on. It used to be that people wanted to see great fights, and all they cared about is seeing great fights between great fighters. All they cared about is how great of a matchup it might be. Whose weakness, who has this weakness, who has that weakness, who has that strength, what can this fighter exploit, what can this fighter exploit, having that type of discussion. And there are channels, right, that do discuss this. But in reality, you see that type of shit from former pro boxing channels, like the channels of former pro boxers, right? Let's say like Sean Porter, Paulie Malignaggi, people like that have their own channels, that have their own boxing podcasts. They talk about these things. They don't talk about shit like pay-per-views and ticket sales and shit like that. They might mention it, but when it comes to wanting to see a great matchup, that's not something they use to judge who should be in what matchup. And that's not how it should be. It should not be like that. It should be about, is it a great matchup? Is it something that real boxing fans want to see? Because at the end of the day, you can get two great fighters together and then work on promoting the fight to casuals. Those are the people you want to bring to these events. Those are the people that you want to buy the pay-per-views. You want to attract the casual. Well, it's up to the promoter and the fighters to make that happen, right? You judge, and also when it comes to ticket sales and pay-per-view buys and all that other shit, those are tools to use during negotiations. It's not something that should be used to say, oh, this person doesn't deserve a fight because they don't have these many pay-per-view sales, or they're not a draw and all that bullshit, right? It's complete and utter nonsense. And I talked about that earlier this week, or on Sunday. I talked about that. So I'm not going to dive too deep into that. But what I am going to talk about is why certain YouTube boxing journalists are talking about those type of things. It is because they are bitches. You understand what I'm saying? Not even that. I'm not even going to equate that. Listen, it is a natural fact that women And when I say they're bitches, I don't mean like females. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to equate a bitch with a woman. I'm equating a bitch with somebody who is weak of mind and weak of substance, who has no substance, who's vapid, who's shallow, who's, you know, manipulative, right? Think about this. When a women are hypergamous by nature, right? They are hypergamous by nature. And that's any female in any species, right? Where, you know, the male is the physically stronger species, where the male provides security, where the male is the one that is looked to as a leader. Women and females in any animal species, except for a very select few, they go after the male with the most provisions, with the most resources. And for some reason, this is what these boxing YouTubers are doing, right? They are being hypergamous in regards to who they want to see fight particular fighters. And that is why, right? That's why. Because they don't care about the actual fight. They don't care about if it's a good fight. They don't care about if their favorite fighter is going to be tested. What they care about is, oh, well, did this guy make so many pay-per-view sales? Did this guy sell so many tickets? Well, if not, he's not good enough for my man. He ain't good enough for my man because he don't sell no tickets. All that kind of bullshit. And this is hypergamy. You understand what I'm saying? It's not about who's the best fighter. It's about which fighter provides the most ticket sales, the most pay-per-views. And that is very feminine in nature. Very feminine in nature. So, and I'm talking about male boxing YouTubers, right? They use that. They'll use and they'll manipulate, and they'll say things like people are lying and all this, that, and the third, and they're hypocrites. They'll come down on one fighter for doing a certain thing, but won't come down on their own fighter for doing the same thing. Or even if the fighter they don't like is fighting somebody they don't necessarily like, it's not their favorite boxer, they will ride the D of the other fighter because they don't like that other fighter. You understand what I'm saying? So, for instance, Ryan Garcia can push Devin Haney at the Super Bowl and then proceed to get immediately hit in the face by Devin, you know, because the reflexes is on point. But no one is talking about it, right? Certain people are talking about it, but certain so-called journalists, they don't cover it like they covered Devin pushing Ryan Garcia in the face, right? They'll cover it like that's the first time either of these guys laid their hands on each other, when we know it's not. We know it's not. Ryan put his hands on Devin Haney outside of the ring first, back in February, at the Super Bowl, right? At the Super Bowl stadium, wherever they had the Super Bowl at. And when they cover Devin Haney mushing Ryan Garcia, they act like that's the first time any physical contact has occurred between the both of them. You know, and it's kind of like now, and we're talking about people that we know better. See, now they're insulting the intelligence of the casual. They're insulting the intelligence of the casual fan because they're covering this like it's the first time somebody got smacked or somebody got their hands put on them. And that is bullshit. Don't make it a race thing. With the what are you talking about? What race thing? And no one's talking about race, bro. Because the people that are going in on Devin Haney, most of the Devin Haney haters are black. That's just the reality. So it doesn't matter what the race is. That's not the point. The point is, most of these people, their favorite boxer is Tank Davis, and for whatever reason, they feel like they gotta protect Tank Davis, and they don't want him to fight Devin Haney. And the reasons that they're giving is very hypergamous, it's very shallow, it's very vapid. There's no substance behind it. There's no reason Devin Haney should not be able to fight Tank Davis. If Tank Davis wants to fight, and if Ryan Garcia wants to fight, the fight can't happen. So, it is these boxing YouTubers, these boxing journalists, for whatever reason, this is what they go to. And they're hypocrites. You know, Ryan Garcia can push people. Ryan Garcia can talk all this shit on the internet. Talk all this shit. He said that he was going to kill Devin, that he was going to bite his ears off, all this other type of shit. But when Devin says that he's going to kill him, or when Bill Haney says that Devin's going to kill Ryan Garcia, it's a big deal. It's all such a big deal. You know, it's how could, you know, it's completely asinine and obvious, right? Completely asinine and obvious. At the end of the day, Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney have to meet in the ring. And so, yes, now that the fight is made, the contracts are signed between Ryan and Devin. Now that that has happened, and Ryan Garcia showed up, you know, they're going to fight. So yeah, you're going to cover certain things surrounding the fight, right? Yeah, you're going to cover Ryan Garcia's antics. You're going to cover Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia training. You know, what they're going through during camp. You're gonna interview both of them. You're gonna ask them about what they feel they're gonna do in the ring and who's gonna do what. What's your plan of attack? All this other type of shit. And you can cover the silly shit. But at the end of the day, you're promoting two fighters coming together and putting on a show that you want to see. And that's great. But when you're talking about two fighters that say they want to fight each other, but the so-called A side doesn't want to see in the contract. He doesn't want to say, he doesn't want to give. What do you want, Tank? What does Tank want to fight Devin Haney? He won't say anything, right? He won't say anything. He'll just sit up here and be cryptic, do tweet and deletes and all that type of shit. He won't come out and say, Devin, I don't want to fight you. So the last thing we know about coming from Tank's mouth about whether or not he wants to fight Devin is that he wants to fight Devin. He said he wants to fight Devin multiple times. All right, so what the fuck is the holdup? I will tell you. It's these monkey branching boxing YouTubers that want to protect Tank's O at all costs. And from now on, I'm calling them monkey branchers, because that's what they are, or that's what they're acting like. But no one cared about Rolly's pay-per-view numbers and ticket sales. No one cared about Pitbull's, Ryan Garcia's, Gamboa's, Leo Santa Cruz. No one cared about anything about that. And supposedly, Tank Davis is fighting Frank Martin possibly in July, and Frank Martin hasn't sold any pay-per-views. He doesn't have big gate sales either. So all this bullshit about ticket sales and all this and that, it's bullshit, bro. It's bullshit, these are excuses. Yeah, you can say, oh, well, Devin Haney, he didn't sell as many pay-per-views as Tank. No one against Tank has. And no one against taking the future other than Devin. Listen, first of all, there aren't that many pay-per-view fighters in those divisions. 135, 140, 147. There aren't very many. There's a few. Okay? So if it's all about pay-per-view sales, then you're limiting Tank to 3 fights for the rest of his career until somebody else gets pay-per-view sales. Like, it's bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit. Frank Martin doesn't have to sell pay-per-views. You know, come on. And why? Why protect? And you know, this is these YouTubers. They have influence on the fans. The fans, you know, they are the ones that are paying the money for the fights. That's how your bread gets buttered, right? And so Tank has no incentive to just do what, you know what I'm saying? To get out and do these fights, because he feels like, well, it doesn't matter who I fight. I'm going to get mad pay-per-view numbers. I'm going to get mad ticket sales. So, because my fans are going to support me financially no matter what I do. And that's not how this shit should work. Right? Okay, but it can work. Let it work for Tank until all these other boxers who are chasing greatness, who are chasing legends, chasing legacy, let them pass you by, and you just stay back there and knock out flat-footed motherfuckers, maybe for another year or two, before your hype and before your star fizzles out, and other people are going to surpass you. And you might not be guaranteed a spot in the Hall of Fame. For what reason? You know, so not only are you going to start to lose that money that you're so used to getting with all these pay-per-view sales, because guess what? A lot of fans are waking up. A lot of fans are waking up, and they're like, well, Tank, you need to fight some fucking body. You need to fight somebody. Or I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to pay for your fights no more. Gotta tell you what. Before Pitbull fought and whooped the ass of Rolly, no one wanted to see that rematch, and it was it was all the buzz that you were going to fight Pitbull in this rematch, and you see how that fucking buzz fizzled out, right? Now, hey, it's something that might excite people again, but I guarantee you won't do it. I guarantee, especially you won't go to 140, because it looks like Pitbull improved somewhat. Yeah, it was against Rolly. Really no big deal there. The bar is not too high. But you guys get what I'm saying. You know, Tank is going to get surpassed by Devin, and by the end of this year. By the end of this year, if Tank doesn't, well, you know, depends on how he deals with Frank Martin. Depends on how that fight goes. And then it depends on what happens after that. What is your move after that? Are you then going to go up to 140, or and fight the competition there, or are you going to fight Shakur Stevenson? Or are you going to fight Lomachenko? These are great possibilities. These are, you know, if you want to stay at 135 and fight those guys, yeah, you will start. Your legacy will start to flourish. Yes, but what if Shakur Stevenson goes to 140? He's already trying. Shakur Stevenson is already trying to chase Devin Haney to 140. So what if Shakur Stevenson goes to 140? Well, the only good fight you're going to have now at 135 is against Lomachenko. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So, and then what happens when Lomachenko retires? He beats Kambosos. He might want to try for Undisputed. You have the WBA belt, which you got in the email, by the way. So now you're an email champion. But see, that's funny. Tank called Haney an email champ for taking the WBC belt when Lomachenko took the franchise belt and decided to duck Devin Haney. And called him an email champ. Now Tank is the email champ. But these guys are not going to talk about Tank being an email champ. They're not going to do it at all. And if they do, it might be like something they gloss over, or they cover just to seem like they're not hypocrites. But they're not going to harp on it like they harp on Devin with certain things that he does. And here's another thing that these guys do, right? Here's another thing. They'll come out and say, Devin has to knock out Ryan Garcia. Has to knock out Ryan Garcia for what? Has to knock him out for what? Why is that something that he has to do? He doesn't have to do that. He just has to win. He just has to beat Ryan Garcia. That's it. He ain't got to knock him out. So why are we saying that he does? My question is this. Did Tank knock out Ryan Garcia? Who's Frank Martin? That Frank Martin is supposedly Tank's next opponent at 135. He's a 135 pound contender, a lightweight contender. And yeah, Frank Martin's pretty damn good. He's going to be the best competition Tank has ever faced. He's a black fighter, but he's, he has great footwork. He's pretty slick, not super slick. You know what I'm saying? He is one of Derrick James' fighters, and Derrick James is not necessarily one who coaches his fighters to, dance around and, put all this footwork into the mix. But he has great footwork. He just doesn't utilize it like he could, because that's just his style. His style is to kind of using great footwork is kind of to walk you down, right? But he has the great footwork to get out of situations and all that other type of shit. So Frank Martin is going to be a great test for Tank Davis. So what if black? That might, if you know anything about boxing, then you know that black fighters are the slicker fighters in the sport of boxing. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. And it's just the style they were trained in. All right? It's the style they were trained in. Most black fighters are trained to box slick. Right? Most of the great boxers, the great black boxers, are trained to be slick fighters. Tank Davis is a great puncher, right? He's a great puncher, but he's also a great boxer. So Tank is a great boxer puncher he's a great puncher who can use his footwork, and he can be slick. He has excellent footwork. He can be very slick and all other type of shit. And he doesn't use it that much, but he knows how he can use it to get out of dangerous situations and all that stuff. Like when he's being pressed, when he takes a big shot, you know what I'm saying? He has the ability to get out of the situation to avoid being hit with multiple punches. So it's hard to hit him more than a few times unless he's setting you up like he did with Leo Santa Cruz. Mexican fighters, I love how you said Mexican fighters are slick too, and brought up one fighter who hasn't fought in over 10 years. First of all, Oscar De La Hoya was not slick. All right, he wasn't that slick. Oscar De La Hoya was not slick. All right, he'll walk you down, right? He was not slick. He had good head movement and all that other shit. That's like saying, Oscar De La Hoya is a volume puncher. All right, he's not slick. Roy Jones, yes, Roy Jones is slick. Roy Jones had natural talent to be slick. He relied on talent more than skill, and that's how he ended up getting knocked out by Antonio Tarver. Mexican fighters, right? Trained by Mexican trainers, trained in the Mexican style. That's literally the style of fighting that was created by Mexican fighters. And if they're training in Mexican style, which is flat-footed, right? They're flat-footed. They'll they'll walk you down. They'll cut you off if you're slick, if they have that ability to cut you off in the ring, cut the ring off for you, so that they can trap you and get you to get against the ropes, or get in close and start just mauling you. That's just Mexican style. Let's literally look it up. Mexican style fighting. And then if you go, let's say you go to Vegas, most black fighters that train in Vegas train and fight like Devin Haney. Devin Haney is a very slick fighter. That's just the reality. I don't care what you call it. That's just the reality of it. It is what it is. More black fighters are slick than Mexican fighters than white fighters. Now, some white fighters are slick too. Some white fighters are trained in that style. Like look at Kawasaki, right? Kawasaki was very slick, but he was also a great volume puncher, and that motherfucker get around you like he was a beast. Lomachenko's a slick fighter. And Caleb Plant is a slick fighter. There are more slick white fighters than Mexican white fighters. It is what it is. And there are more black fighters that are slick than there are white fighters that are slick. That's just, sorry, that's what it is. Tyson Fury, he's a slick white fighter. Alexander Usyk, he's a slick fighter, slick white fighter. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality of it. But most white fighters fight kind of like, it's like a hybrid between Mexican style and slick style fighting, like the more of the boxing, literally, boxing and all that type of shit. Tank, and as a matter of fact, Tank is closer to being like a Mexican style fighter than a slick fighter. That's what he uses more. But because he has superior footwork to most of his opponents, when you mix that together with that aggressive style, and also Tank, the difference between Tank style and a Mexican fighter style is that Tank picks his punches more, right? He doesn't punch as much as a Mexican fighter, but he will come forward. He'll use the high guard, right? But instead of having his bending over at the waist, he'll be straight up with the high guard, right? And he'll just rely on using, slipping and whatnot, and covering his body by dropping his elbow, by bending over and all that shit. So there you have that. That's just reality, man. But Tank has the ability to be a very slick fighter, and he's black. It just is what it is. I would say Crawford is slicker. Crawford is slicker. Crawford is slicker than most fighters, just period. But he also has the ability to knock your ass out. So Terrence Crawford is another great boxer puncher who's very slick, and he can be a little wild sometimes and get caught in the middle of punches. He can be. And that's how he got wobbled against. I forgot who was that. I can't think of it right now. He got wobbled a couple times, kind of swinging wild, and got hit in the middle of swinging. But you know, he can do that sometimes. White fighters have no rhythm. Some white fighters do, like Lomachenko, Alexander Usyk. I mentioned some. Caleb Plant. Some of them do, but some of them, they kind of standing upright, you know, and they'll jab a lot, throw a lot of straights, you know, and all that type of shit. And they'll use footwork, but it's very like mechanical and robotic. Whereas most black fighters, their footwork is more like a dance, more slick, you know what I'm saying? More like smooth and fluid, right? You don't know, you know, it's more smooth transitions between, you know, they might be able to step and shuffle and all other shit, and it just makes it look smooth and like a dance. And I'll say like Mike Tyson, right? Mike Tyson was the type of fighter, right, that used the peekaboo style, but his footwork was great at the same time. See, some people overlook how great Mike Tyson footwork was. To get in like he did, to be able to step forward while punching and still have that great head movement at the same time, that level of coordination made Mike Tyson one of the greatest fighters of all time. You know, how he could get in there, you know, using his jab, using his right hand, you know, and head work, head movement at the same time as he's stepping and shifting. He'll shift over here, he'll shift over there, and just, you know, his counter punching, all that shit. Like, it's just at a great level, right? You know, but again, he's black. Tyson was must-see TV, couldn't grab a beer. Yeah, you had to be on it. You had to be on it. You had to be on it. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to come on here and just discuss how, you know, a lot of these people, man, they're just like, you're a disservice to boxing, right? Your hypergamous nature and your reporting of certain boxers is just, and for whatever reason, it's really just that for this hatred is really just for like Devin Haney. And I don't understand, because some other fighters can do the same thing that Tank is doing, and they'll call that other fighter a duck, but will defend Tank till the end. And then other fighters will do things that are okay with them, but Devin does the same thing and it's not okay. It's completely ridiculous. So why don't we just I just don't understand why we can't keep it real in boxing and just leave the fucking money bullshit out of it. Let the promotional teams discuss who gets what and what percentage of what based on pay-per-view sales, based on ticket sales. There is a place for that conversation. And again, you can converse about whatever you want to converse about. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about on your channel. I don't give a hot fuck. I believe I'm a staunch believer in free speech. And you can say what you want, but I can say what I want and point out the hypocrisy, point out the insulting of intelligence. I can point out the intellectual dishonesty. I can point all that shit out and just, you know, why not? Anyway, that's all I got for now, y'all. Maybe in a couple days I'll get back on the live stream and talk about some other shit going on in the world. But I'm get at y'all later. I'll at y'all. Much love, like, share, subscribe, and we're gonna keep marching.